her invincible purity, destroyed her marriage. The unfortunate girl was not to blame for her peculiarities, yet she was forced to retire to a convent to give her former husband a chance to remarry and have an heir. Margaret of Farnese was only 14 years old when she was married to Vincenzo Gonzaga, the future Duke of Mantua and Monferrato. She was a young, attractive, God-fearing girl, the daughter of a renowned general with a dowry of 300,000 scudi. As always, the marriage was arranged for convenience. The Farnese family was still new on the stage of Renaissance courts, but had already managed to secure influential connections, especially thanks to Pope Paul III. Moreover, the bride was named Margaret after her paternal grandmother, an illegitimate daughter of Charles V. The groom, on the other hand, was cheerful, fond of luxury, celebrations, music, theater, and painting. He was hot-tempered, but in the future would become a patron of the arts and a capable ruler, supporting Torquato Tasso and Claudio Monteverdi, building a theater with 1,000 seats, bringing the young painter Peter Paul Rubens from Flanders, and appointing him court painter. Yet, alas, he became famous not only for this. His two humiliating marriages and personal life came to the forefront of world history. Vincenzo Gonzaga was a well-known ladies' man with an extensive track record. His marriage to Margaret held great promise, but imagine the surprise when, a month later, it became clear that the young bride was still a virgin. Vincenzo could never complete the marriage, rendering the union invalid both before God and society. More importantly, the innocent Margaret could not provide the dynasty with what mattered most, an heir. The first to be alarmed was the bride's grandfather, Duke Ottavio Farnese of Parma. He did not trust the diagnosis of the Mantuan court physician and urgently summoned the famous doctor from Padua. The essence of the problem quickly became clear. 14-year-old Margaret had not begun menstruating, and her anatomy did not allow her to conceive an heir. The Gonzaga physician suggested surgical intervention. The Farnese-appointed doctor, after examining the girl, recommended mechanical dilation, but for poor Margaret, this turned into a real ordeal. What should have confirmed her purity and become a symbol of virtue instead turned into a political threat. The bride, whom it was impossible to marry, endangered the entire Gonzaga dynasty, leaving them without heirs. Rumors of this story spread throughout Europe, portraying the courageous and strong Vincenzo in an extremely ridiculous light. The very fate of Mantua hung by a thread. Without heirs, the duchy could be absorbed by the French. At a time when female anatomy was not fully understood by doctors beyond midwives, Margaret had to endure a humiliating series of medical examinations. She was examined by 3 physicians representing the Farnese, 2 from the Gonzaga, 3 specialists accompanying Cardinal Carlo Borromeo, sent by the Pope, as well as a doctor from Bologna, 2 ladies-in-waiting from Parma, 2 Milanese aristocrats, and a nun from the Ospedale Maggiore. Humiliated and insulted, Vincenzo, to prove he was fine, threw himself into every vice and undertook a veritable marathon of seducing young, innocent girls. The resolution took nearly 2 years. In the end, Cardinal Borromeo convinced Margaret that her invincible purity posed a danger to her husband's family. Distraught, she decided to retire to a convent. Pope Gregory XIII annulled this unconsummated marriage. Margaret took the veil under the name Sister Maria Lucina and became abbess of the monastery of St. Paul in Parma. Her only solace remained the theater. Ironically, Margaret died at 75, outliving everyone, her husband, who had rejected her, 2 generations of the Gonzaga, and even the plague brought by the French army. That army had invaded Italy precisely after Mantua had been left without direct and lawful heirs. Vincenzo remarried, and there were children from this marriage, yet misfortune struck. The eldest son, Francesco, died without a male heir. Of the 3 children, only a daughter survived. Francesco was succeeded by his brother Ferdinand, who had to renounce the cardinalate. Yet his son was born from the first wife. Their marriage was morganatic and later annulled. The child was deemed illegitimate. After Ferdinand, the younger brother Vincenzo became ruler. He had no children. It seems one cannot escape fate, and not.